let's talk about one of those moments that can literally define a product manager's career: presenting to the C-suite. I mean, this isn't just another meeting, right? You get this right, you unlock resources, you get the whole company behind you, and your career path gets a major boost. But if you get it wrong, well, you're just another update on a very busy calendar, and you're forgotten pretty fast. So why does this go wrong so often, even for really smart PMs? We have all been there. You can feel that anxiety creeping in. You've got the floor, your data is totally solid, your analysis is bulletproof. But as you're building your case, slide by slide, you see it. The CEO glances at their phone. Other execs start kind of shifting in their seats, and you can just feel the energy draining out of the room. It's such a common story, and it is incredibly frustrating. So look at this. It really shows the two different paths you can take. The PM on the left, they're presenting data. They're showing all their work, building the case piece by painful piece. And that's fine. But the PM on the right, they're leading. They get that executives don't need to relive your entire journey of discovery. They need a destination, a really clear, compelling story that leads directly to a decision. The first PM gets a polite nod. The second one, yeah, they get the budget. And this right here is the absolute heart of the issue. Your spreadsheets are perfect, your user research is amazing, but you're communicating in a language that is fundamentally mismatched with how a senior executive needs to hear information. They don't have time to connect the dots with you. They need you to have already connected the dots for them. Okay, so the fix really begins when we stop thinking like we're just presenters, and we start thinking like our audience. Executives are under just immense time pressure. Every single minute in that room is expensive. So they value brevity, they value clarity, and they value the bottom line, above literally everything else. Wasting their time isn't just an inconvenience, it's a direct hit to the company's bottom line. And this brings us to the single most powerful tool in your entire arsenal, the pyramid principle. Honestly, this is the gold standard for all high-stakes communication. Now, it feels a little unnatural at first because, we were all taught in school to build our case from the ground up and save the big conclusion for the end. This method completely flips that on its head. The idea is so simple, but it is so powerful. You walk into that room and you lead with the answer. You give them your recommendation, the single most important thing they need to know, right up front. Everything else you say from that point on is just evidence supporting that one big conclusion. This one change completely reframes the entire conversation. Okay, so that's the theory, but what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's break down a super practical structure you can use in your very next presentation. It's a really simple 3-part flow. You start with a bold recommendation, no long intro, no winding background story, just the answer. Then you immediately back it up with your main arguments. 3 is the magic number. And this part is key. All that deep analysis, all those data tables you spent weeks on, you keep them in your back pocket. You have them ready to go, but you do not lead with them. This shows you respect the exec's time, and it puts them in control of how deep they want to go. Jeff Bezos once said, "The great thing about fact-based decisions is that they overrule the hierarchy." And that is exactly why this structure works so well. When you lead with a clear recommendation that's supported by factual pillars, it's no longer a debate about opinions or who has the most senior title in the room. It becomes a discussion about the facts. You're not just asking them for a decision, you're helping them make a high-quality one. Now, the best companies don't just hope for clear communication. They actually build systems to enforce it. So let's look at a couple of powerful frameworks that really institutionalize this top-down way of thinking. At Amazon, they famously banned PowerPoint presentations and replaced them with 6-page narrative memos. Now, why would they do that? Well, because writing a full narrative forces you to think with precision and clarity in a way that just putting bullet points on a slide never will. Meetings there often start with 20 minutes of total silence while everyone reads, ensuring the discussion that follows is deep and informed. It guarantees focus. But let's be realistic. You're not always going to write a 6-page memo. So here's a beautifully simple framework you can apply to any slide deck. It all starts with setting the stage. First, the situation. What's the current state of the world? Then, the complication. What's the problem or the change that's creating tension? This gives just enough context and no more. Part 2 is really the heart of your presentation. Here, you briefly lay out the different paths you could take, the options you considered, and then bam, using that pyramid principle, you state your recommendation clearly and without any ambiguity. This is the moment the decision gets made. And finally, you make it real. This is the so what part. What do you actually need to make this happen? Spell it out. The people, the budget, the timeline. This is the stuff that turns a good idea talked about in a meeting into a concrete plan of action. All right, so now that we know what to do, it's just as important to know what not to do. There are a few really common mistakes that can instantly derail even the best presentation. Let's cover the big ones. I want you to think of these as the classic landmines. That long, winding intro about the history of the project, that's a trap. That massive data dump that proves you did your homework but actually hides the real insight, trap. And burying your actual recommendation on the very last slide, forcing everyone to guess what you want, that's the biggest trap of all. Each of these wastes time and kills your momentum. And hey, a special pro tip here. For those of you working on really complex products like AI, don't get lost in the weeds talking about neural networks or algorithms. You gotta translate the tech into business terms. Use analogies. Ask yourself, what business outcome does this drive? And what's the risk if we don't do it? Frame it in the language your execs actually speak. So let's pull all of this together. It is so crucial to remember the ultimate reason you're standing in front of that room. You are not there just to give a status update. And this is the real takeaway. Your job as a product leader is to articulate a vision, convince people it's the right one, and mobilize the company to go build it. Just informing people, that's passive. Inspiring action, that's leadership. That is the bar for great executive communication. So, I want you to look at your calendar. See that next executive review? That's not just another meeting. It's an opportunity. It's a chance to build real momentum for your product, for your team, and for your career. By leading with the answer, you can turn a simple update into a catalyst for real change. So the only question is, are you ready?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like.